Now, you brought up the kind of postmodern contemporary spirituality. You know, we're talking about Ken, who dubbed the term boomeritis Buddhism, you know, based on the recognition that sort of this notion that we could be a lamp unto ourselves has been sort of embraced as like kind of the mantra or the sort of anthem of a kind of new generation of American kind of postmodern Buddhists. And Wilbur pointing out that that's just empowered our narcissism by making us feel like we don't have to bow to any authority other than our own self and don't have to believe in anything higher than our own self. And so one question I would have then is, well, how does Buddhism evolve beyond that? What's the next turn of the Buddhist wheel in the West here, where we go somewhere else?
Recently, some Buddhist scholars and teachers have been talking about developing relational mindfulness. I think that's one thing. And not just mindfulness as applies to oneself, but relational mindfulness. And what I call co-meditation, meditating together, and also not meditating together. Somebody very interesting changed the order of the Buddhist refuge from Buddha, Dharma, Sangha to Sangha, Dharma, Buddha. I thought that was very much with the postmodern zeitgeist. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, the Buddha of the future, Maitreya, the people are waiting for, mythologically called a 7-foot shining human man, isn't going to be a 7-foot shining man. It's the Sangha, it's the Buddhist community. Look around. I think that would have very leveling influence. So I think that's one new evolution, a turning of the wheel, is from the I space of be a lamp unto oneself to the we space. More Mahayana, more tantric, more interwoven, interbeingness. I think that's very, and that segues back to what you were talking about before, Craig, about not just individual enlightenment, but universal evolution to the omega point. And I think that that's coming. But change comes slowly. I mean, in the interest of full disclosure, again, since we're talking alone here in the privacy of our own homes, Craig.
I won't tell anyone.
Yeah, thank you. When Ken's manuscript, the Boomeritis, first came around, before the book was out, I was the first one to call Ken. Of course, it's famously hard to call Ken, but I think I left this message on his answering machine, or else I faxed him, he was more responsive to it those ancient days. And I said, Ken, I've got it. Boomeritis. I self-diagnosed. So, Ken has always been prodding and goading and trying to push us to the next level, and I really appreciate that. But I think that besides empowering our narcissism and so on, there's a lot of other aspects to Buddhism besides be a lamp unto oneself. That was kind of the famous original sayings of Buddha. Later, the emphasis on the teacher and devotion and giving up your self-will to other power, as in the Pure Land schools of Buddhism, not just self-power, but other power, Joriki and Toriki in Japan, and so forth, that D.T. Suzuki wrote very well about and found the commonality of that other power with the self-power of Zen. So even in Buddhism, there's a certain notion of getting help from other. Even though other is a reflection and projection of oneself, you can get a lot of help by asking for help, for example. And I think that's a very important part of it that takes us beyond narcissism. And I myself bow to and reverence and cherish my gurus, and I never could have done this without them. So I think that there's a lot more to it than just that. Of course, for every light, where the light is brightest, the shadow gets darker. So there are other sides to the authority and teacher-disciple, guru-disciple relationships. I think there's a lot to be gained from asking for help. It's very helpful to ask for help. How about that? Without saying that it comes from outside, like from a savior.
Yeah. And you feel that coming back in strongly.
We may be getting over some of our hubris as we see how hard it is to change.
Nice.
I've been in the change game since 1968, or even before. I went to encounter groups and Esalen and tea groups and things in the late 60s in college, and Zen retreats and other things. I've been working on myself for 40 years. It's more than 40 years now. Maybe I'm a slow learner, but change comes hard, even though change is the law. Everybody says we want to change, but who's ready, willing, and able to actually do so? change and evolve? Who's ready to leave behind the rut with our cozy nest and go forth and face the unknown? Who's willing to deal with the challenges and difficulties of the unknown? And who's able, who knows how, who has the skillful means and the knowledge, wisdom to do so? It's easier said than done. So I think that we all want to change and evolve, and we're working on it. But we can't do it alone.